Trigger warning. This podcast is about grief. Whether you are newly bereaved or whether you have been stuck in grief for years, I do hope this podcast brings you some comfort. Grief is such a universal experience, but we all do it differently. This podcast is not about fixing you or forcing the healing process because there is no cure for grief. It can only be experienced, absorbed, loved and cared for. So whether you are doing it privately behind closed doors or like me, you are kicking and screaming your way through, let's support each other. My name is Louise Bates, and my hope is that this podcast shines a light on your path and gives you the strength to navigate your way through the grieving process. I'm sending you so much love and support, and I look forward to sharing this journey with you. Welcome to this episode of A Gift for Grief. Today's episode is titled A Year in the Life of Grief. 365 Days of Firsts. If you've experienced loss, you'll know exactly what that means. The first birthday without them, the first Christmas, the first holiday, the first anniversary. Whether you're in your first year of grieving, supporting someone who is, or simply trying to understand, this space is for you. So take a breath, pour yourself some tea, and let's talk about that first year of grief. One day, one memory, and one first at a time. These firsts are more than just dates on a calendar. They're the moments when we expect joy, connection, and tradition. But now these moments are met with emptiness and silence. These moments remind us not just that our loved one is gone, but of what could have been. The world continues to spin. Birthdays come again, holidays arrive, but everything seems unfair. Personally, I have found that the anticipation of a first can be worse than the actual day itself. You dread the date weeks in advance, and you wonder, how will I get through it? You question whether you should celebrate or withdraw, distract yourself, or just pretend it's a normal day. The truth, there's no rule book. Whatever you choose to do is the right thing for you. When Matthew's anniversary was due, I remember someone asking me, what are you doing for his anniversary? I panicked. And then I felt like an awful person because I hadn't thought about doing something special. I just wanted to be at home with Bill and do some gardening. So did this make me a heartless person? Did I not love Matthew enough because I hadn't organised something in his memory? In truth, I just needed that quiet, alone time with my hubby. I needed to spend time in my garden, in nature, and that was doing something special. I even found one of Matthew's golf balls in the undergrowth, and I like to think that was a sign that he was with me. I still find Christmas the most difficult time. Matthew died in October 2016. Just 2 months before Christmas, and we knew the season would be unbearable. Everything that had once brought joy now felt hollow, almost cruel in its joyfulness and happiness. The thought of getting the decorations down from the attic, the same ones he'd helped hang year after year, was enough to break me. Each box held memories, his favourite ornaments, the stocking with his name on it, even decorations he'd made as a child. These firsts are all milestones in grief. They are the echoes of love, of shared memories, and of deep connection. They're not dates to be celebrated anymore. So how do we move through them? First, be honest with yourself. If it hurts, let it hurt. Don't rush to package your pain neatly or hide it from the world. Cry if you need to. cancel or postpone the plans, stay in bed, or go for a drive with no destination. Grief doesn't follow a calendar, and healing doesn't look the same for everyone. Give yourself permission to feel what's real without judgment. There's no gold star for pretending you're okay. Second, make space for the love. Grief is, at its core, love with nowhere to go, so give it a home. Honour your loved one by lighting a candle. Write them a letter. Set a place for them at the table. Tell a story that brings them back into the room. Speak their name. Remember, you're not keeping yourself stuck, you're keeping them close. Love doesn't disappear just because someone is gone. It changes shape. Making space for this kind of love is one of the ways we carry them forward with us. Third, ask for what you need. This one is hard because so often we think if people really cared, they'd just know. But people aren't mind readers. Let someone in. Grief is invisible unless we talk about it, and it becomes lighter when it's shared, even in the smallest ways. You don't have to carry it all alone. Find yourself a grief buddy. They are hard to find, someone who can sit with you and intuitively know what it is you need in that moment. I call them earth angels, and they are around. And lastly, give yourself permission to feel it all. The sadness, the longing, the guilt, the relief, the gratitude, whatever it is. The sudden laugh that surprises you, you are allowed all of it. Joy does not betray grief. In fact, joy can be its companion. Living fully doesn't mean you've moved on. It means you're learning how to move forward, carrying your loss with you. You're not forgetting them. You're honouring them with the courage to keep going. These firsts remind us of what we lost, but also of what we had. The deep, rich, messy, beautiful love that still lingers even in their absence. If you're facing a first right now, or if one is quietly approaching, know this: you are not alone, you are not broken, and you don't have to have it all figured out. You get to choose how to spend the first birthday, the first holiday, the first Christmas, the first anniversary. It's taken my husband Bill and me some time to figure out how we want to spend certain dates on the calendar, especially the ones that carry the most weight. Matthew's birthday is August the 8th, and every year we spend that week in North Devon. It's a place filled with memories because when our children were young, we holidayed there every summer, and they especially loved visiting Watersmeet. We loved how tame the local birds were and how they would come to the table and almost eat off your hands. We loved paddling and clambering over the rocks in the river. Now, on Matthew's birthday, we return to Watersmeet and I place a painted stone there in his memory. It's become a quiet tradition and one that brings us comfort. We enjoy a cup of coffee and a slice of cake from the cafe and watch the birds come to our table for the crumbs. And over the years, we've had some truly powerful moments in that place. Times when we felt Matthew so near. It's as if the veil between here and there thins just for a while and we feel him close with us. So if you ever visit Watersmeet, look for Matthew's painted pebbles and just hold him in your thoughts for a few moments. At Christmas, we jet off on a plane to the Canary Islands. The trusty old plastic Christmas tree with all its decorations stay in the attic covered in cobwebs, and we enjoy Christmas in the sun. On Christmas Day, we light a candle, in the local church, and we like to reflect and sometimes even say a prayer. And we usually have a bit of a cry. Then we give ourselves permission to enjoy the rest of the holiday. We wear our Christmas hats on the beach and video a Christmas message for our friends and family back home. The sunshine also helps us get through our dark British winters. These are the ways we find our way through the difficult times. We had to move through the firsts to get to where we are now, and sometimes it's the seconds or the thirds that catch you even more off guard. Because grief isn't always linear. It can return in waves, softer or sharper, depending on the year, the moment, or the memory. But here's what we've learned. You get to choose how you move through those days, and with each passing year, you learn a little more about what helps carry you through. We can, to a certain extent, prepare for these firsts. You know, the ones on the calendar, we can see them coming. But what about the quiet firsts, like the first time you see someone who looks like your loved one? Or the first time you hear that song on the radio? We can't prepare for these moments. They can feel like emotional landmines because they come without warning, and they make the grief feel fresh again. I remember hearing Trouble by Coldplay on the car radio and just breaking down. Matthew had performed that song at one of our barbecues when he was about 14, singing and playing it on the piano so beautifully. I had no idea how hearing that song again would make me feel. I also remember the first time I saw his favourite meal on a menu, or spotted his favourite snacks in the supermarket. These firsts, they hit differently. There's a quiet kind of pain in those unexpected moments. I remember the first time I laughed after Matthew died. I think it was about 6 weeks later. My 5 sisters had arranged a pizza and film night at our house. I'm very lucky because my sisters are like my best friends and they know exactly what I need, even through their own grief, because Matthew was their nephew. But we laughed so much that evening, and the next day I felt the weight of guilt. How could I have laughed and enjoyed myself so much just 6 weeks after my son died? How could I be okay, even for a second, when he's dead? This is grief. It's messy, confusing, overwhelming. If you're listening to this and have been through grief, you will know exactly what I mean. But just imagine for a moment, if there is an afterlife and Matthew can see me, don't you think he would be happy to see me laughing and enjoying myself? So the next time a first lands for you, or you feel the heaviness of an unexpected grief wave, take a breath, pause, then invite it in. Say, "Welcome to my body, you can stay as long as you like." You may feel like you're breaking, but that doesn't mean you're broken. It simply means you're still loving someone who's no longer here, and that love, it has to go somewhere. Grief is love, just in a different form. You will recover because you've made it through every wave so far, and you'll make it through this one too. So let yourself feel it, whatever it is, because feeling is healing. Not all firsts in grief are heavy or heartbreaking. Some are quiet and soft. They are the opposite of triggers. They're what some people like to call glimmers. You know, those brief, gentle moments that bring a sense of calm, connection, or unexpected peace. They simply arrive like a nice memory or a sudden feeling that you're not alone. Like the first time you notice a robin watching you from a branch, or the first time a white feather drifts onto your path in a timely moment. An unexpected first flicker of light. The first time you see their favourite number, again and again in moments that feel too precise to be a coincidence. Or it could be a sudden breeze when the world is still. These kind of firsts don't follow logic, but they can stir something inside, a feeling that maybe our loved ones are closer than we think. And while they don't erase the pain, glimmers can soften or loosen it. They can remind us that even in grief there is comfort. Glimmers feel like a quiet hello, a soft reaching out from somewhere beyond what we can explain. These gentle firsts remind us that love doesn't end, it just changes shape. And when we allow ourselves to notice, to believe even for a moment, these glimmers can offer a kind of peace. And you know, I truly believe that when we make peace with our grief, this sends our loved ones peace too. I also believe that grief is a sacred journey to walk, and every first is a marker on your path. We can find our way together, one breath, one tender step at a time, one first at a time. Thank you so much for sharing this space with me today. If this episode resonated with you, I'd love to hear from you. Send me a message, share your story, or just let me know you're out there. You can find more episodes, reflections and support from my website, louisebates.co.uk. But if you know someone who is facing their own firsts, maybe share this episode with them, because sometimes the smallest gesture can remind someone they're not walking this road alone. Until next time, be gentle with yourself and remember, even in grief, there are gifts. Thank you for listening to this episode of A Gift for Grief. If you found it comforting, please consider subscribing to my podcast so you don't miss any future episodes. Please also leave a review because it helps others to find the show. Together we can help each other become more grief literate. To learn more about my personal journey and my 2 books on grief, visit www.louisebates.co.uk. The music on this podcast was written and recorded by my son Matthew Bates and can be found on his 2 albums, Fight Back and Kaleidoscope. And finally, if you're struggling with grief or concerned about your mental health, please reach out to your doctor. You don't have to go through this alone. Until next time, be gentle with yourself and thank you for listening.